What's going on, people? I would like to welcome all of you to another Q11 edition of the Talk to Q radio show. My name is Quincy, and this is my show. And with the Q11s, what I like to do is interview people to expose my audience to new things. I talk to authors, entrepreneurs, entertainers, counselors, other podcasters, and sometimes just your everyday person who just has something to say about a particular topic. So it's an opportunity for you to get to know these people up and close and learn their story. What sparked the passion to choose a certain career, or what inspired them to write that book, or why is this person so opinionated about a particular topic? So just sit back and enjoy the show, and please be encouraged to share. A lot of my guests, much like myself, kind of do their thing by word of mouth. So the more that you share, like, or comment on a social media post, then the more you can help me grow the show. And it also gives more support to the people that I bring on the show who are looking to get their services, products, and talents out to the masses. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. To say that my guest is a boxing aficionado is an understatement. His most recent book, Lost Stories of West Coast Latino Boxing, is available wherever you buy books. Residing in the Golden State of California, please welcome back Mr. Gene Aguilera to the Talk to Q radio show. Gene, how's it going?
Good, Q. How you doing? Your
I'm
show is growing, and I can see it. And it's just you're getting all these great guests out there, and I'm happy for you, Q.
thank you. I appreciate it. And first of all, I want to thank you for acknowledging me and the show in your book.
Yeah,
It was
did you notice that?
uh,
I was gonna tell you here. I'm just gonna take a quick picture of us here. Okay. Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Did you notice that I thanked you in the book?
yeah. I mean, it was a pleasant
Yeah.
surprise to see my name and the show being acknowledged, and I wanted to know that it definitely, truly meant a lot.
Thank
Um,
you. And
you know, the la-
I did that because of the interview we did a couple of years ago. And you've always been in my corner, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. The last time I had you on was March of 2018, so it's been 4 years,
Wow, wow.
and
Well, we're due then, huh?
definitely, yeah. So, all right. So everyone, remember to please like, share, and this episode as well as subscribe to the show. Feel free to leave a comment or a review as well. These things go a long way towards helping expose my show to new audiences around the world. For more information on me or an upcoming show calendar, then visit talktoq.com. All right. So before we get to the book, Jane, I want to start off and ask you, where did your passion for boxing start? How old were you when all this started?
You know what? I was 10 years old, Q, and I was, just watching the TV, and all of a sudden, Cassius Clay was going to he signed to fight the world champion, heavyweight champion, Sonny Liston in Miami. And I started, my aunt used to bring home the newspaper and the Los Angeles Times, Los Angeles Herald Examiner. And in those days, they were only at 10 cents each for a newspaper. So she'd work downtown LA, and she'd bring home those two newspapers, and I would read and about this upcoming fight. And I was just mesmerized by Cassius Clay, who obviously became Muhammad Ali later on. But in those days, his name was Cassius Clay, and just a just a personality. I mean, he just sold me on, and I followed all the way till he beat Sonny Liston there, and in Miami, he took the world title, world heavyweight championship, and since then I was hooked right there on boxing. As I credit him, and also I'm blessed to have met him, 2 3 times,
Wow.
and I got pictures with him. And next time I'll share those with you.
Okay.
Give me a call. Let me know when we're going to do the show, and I'll have some pictures ready to show you.
Sounds great. I think that is pretty cool. I mean, he was an influence on so many people. And
Yes,
but
yes.
as far as the events go, I've been to a few boxing events, but I've never been to like an official training gym, like Kronk or anything like that.
Uh huh.
But you visited a number of training gyms over the years,
Yes,
some of them well known, some of them not known as much.
yes,
Um,
yes,
is there a particular one that stands out to you? Is there one that when you went to it for the first time, you stood there and you were
yes,
like, wow, I can't believe I'm here?
yes, yes. Let me see if I'm gonna have a picture here in my book. This is my second book right here, Q. And right at the front of the book, right here, can you see that?
Yeah.
I have a picture that's the Main Street Gym. And you would walk, let me see, right there. There's your entrance right there. And there was see that sign?
Mm-hmm.
The Main Street Gym, and where the champions train. And you'd walk up these steps to the upstairs. It was a whole second floor up here. That used to be an old theater in downtown LA in Skid Row. And it was a Main Street Gym. Cassius Clay trained there. And in fact, watch, let me show you this. Let me show you how much I love Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay. Let me show you this. This is my new book. Did you notice that picture right there?
I see. Yes. And
Yeah.
that's his brother as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it says, if you look real close on his protector right here, it says Clay. Mm-hmm. And these are the Pimentel brothers right here, who are great fighters here in LA. And that's his brother Rudy, who was also a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always have, I always credit Ali and put him as much as I can. Here's another one here. Let me show you. This is my first book right here. And there's a picture right here. Mm-hmm. Of Muhammad Ali with Paul Gonzalez, who was the gold medalist in 1984 here in Los Angeles. And he's there sparring with Muhammad Ali at the Disneyland Hotel.
Nice.
So, I always credit the man. I put him in my books as much as I can that got me hooked into boxing. And I lived in East LA back as a young man and a young boy. And the Olympic Auditorium was only 4 miles from there. So, and the Main Street Gym was just a little bit past that in downtown LA. So I would take the bus, and because I used to go to USC. I graduated from USC in '76, and I used to take the bus from East LA because my car broke down. So for a couple of years. And so we take the bus, and then I would go to the Main Street Gym before and after school, see who's there. And I saw the best. I saw Alexis Arguelle, Roberto Duran. I saw, God, who else there? All the great Mexican boxers: Ruben Olivares, Pepino Cuevas, Carlos Zarate, Alfonso Zamora. They were all there training. Lupe Pintor. All the guys would come in from Mexico City and train there for their fights at the Forum or the Olympic Auditorium. So my background was there hanging out at the gym, that's how I made these lifelong friendships with these guys too. And and then also in every Thursday night at the Olympic Auditorium, they had live boxing every Thursday night, and it was promoted by Eileen Eaton, who was the first female promoter, I think, in the United States to have a weekly show like that.
I mean, and so when I see the pictures, and when I look at the book, it's like a collection of historical snapshots. The photos are amazing, and the photos that are presented are stories that really take the readers back into time. And we like to talk about the fighters who made it big, the champions or the perennial contenders. Yet there are a numerous amount of boxers who, because of their skill set, maybe didn't get the opportunity, or maybe it was political reasons, they never got a title shot. Yet they are still respected by the fight game. So why was it so important to you that some of the lesser known people, the lesser mainstream people, I guess, got represented in your book?
Well, back in those days, like you talk about, Q, there was only really two divisions. There was the WBA and the WBC, and they still exist. And that's all they had in those days. So to win a title was really, really difficult. I mean, when Ruben Olivares won the title, he was 53-0. So, nowadays, they're fighting for titles with 10 fights, 15 fights. And, and I don't know. And there's so many belts these days. There's 4 divisions. There's the WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. and countless others. And it's really kind of, I don't like what it's done to the sport. It's kind of, cheapened it or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah, yeah,
but back then, when it was more difficult to fight for a world title, being that there's only the WBA and WBC. So that's why the guys, guys like Herman Montez and Yaki Lopez, they would have been, 3-time belt holders in 2022. But back then, those are just two examples of some great fighters. Alberto Sandoval, they called him the Superfly. All these guys are in my books that were great enough to be a champion, but they just, like you say, through the politics and they never and bad decisions, they never became a world titleist.
yeah. And your book goes back pretty far because I read about there was one part that I actually didn't know. I didn't realize how much money they made back then. There were people in the 40s, the 1940s, getting payouts of almost $50,000 per fight. I
Yeah,
had no idea. I mean,
yeah.
50,000 in the 1940s. I mean,
That's
so boxing's always been that big of a money sport.
Well, yeah, depending on if it's a big fight, Ike Williams. Have you heard of Ike Williams?
I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, yeah. Check him out when you get a chance. He was from Trenton, New Jersey, and he fought Enrique Bolaños out here. And I wrote about that fight in my new book. And here, let me show you a picture. I like to. There's
Okay.
there's Enrique Bolaños right here, and here's excuse me, there's Ike Williams, and here's Enrique. It's hard to see, it's backwards. And
Yeah.
there's Enrique Bolaños, who was fighting out of Los Angeles at that time. And here they are at the weigh-in right there.
Okay.
And so these guys fought this fight was so big that at the Olympic Auditorium, which held 10,000, was too small. They fought 3 times for the title, and every time Mike Williams beat Enrique Bolaños. And but they had all those fights at Wrigley Field because it was just too big for the Olympic. Wrigley Field was like the LA version of the Wrigley Field in Chicago. It was a lot smaller, but it was built by the same owner, Mr. Wrigley there. So these guys had these fights there, and they made money. They made money. 50,000 in 1940, and maybe, I don't know, 5 million today. I don't know.
Right. Right. It's a lot of money.
At least you could buy a house back then, for 4,000 or 5,000. So.
Yeah. But I mean, and boxing has come such a long way. I mean, ups and downs, and it's always been a dangerous sport. Of course, no one's denied that. And I think the first tragedy I remember was in my lifetime was Ray Mancini, and I think it was Dooku Kim.
Yeah, Dooku Kim.
Yeah, the fighter who passed away.
Yeah, the Korean fighter.
Mm-hmm. And in your book, there was a fighter by the name of, I think it was Ultiminio Ramos.
Yes.
Who I think he killed 2 fighters.
Yes. Unfortunately, yeah, that happened. One, Ultiminio Ramos, his nickname was Sugar Ramos. Mm-hmm. He right when he started in his career in Cuba, in his 8th fight, he fought this guy over there, and unfortunately he passed away. And then he becomes a world champion, the WBC lightweight champion, and he's here. And Eileen Eden put together a big card with like 4 title fights, and Sugar Ramos, who was one in those titles, was fighting against Davey Moore, and unfortunately, it was a tough fight, and Davey Moore dies a few days later after the fight due to injuries that he suffered during that battle. And Walter O'Malley, the owner of the Dodgers back then, said, "You know what? There was a first fight that they had held at Dodger Stadium." He says, "We have a family venue here, and and this will be the last. This will be the last fight that we have here in Dodger Stadium. He goes, we have a family place here, a family business, and we just don't want to do boxing here anymore. And they never did. That was the one and
Wow.
only, because Sugar Ramos defeated Davey Moore, and it was a tough fight and tough loss for Davey Moore.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, boxing has come a long way since then. As far as trying to educate referees about safety of the fighters and things of that nature. So hopefully it's nothing that we have to see again at all.
Right. We don't want to see that.
Yeah. But you mentioned the lifelong friends that you have made throughout the years, and one of them in particular is Ruben Oliveras.
Yes,
How did
yes.
that friendship start? Was that
You
all
know,
just because you just showed up at the gym? And I mean,
I
how
was
did you come to meet him?
yeah, I was at the Main Street gym, and a friend of mine was training him. His name is Jojo Torres, and uh, Jojo was getting into acting, and he just didn't have the time. And I was a college student then, and I had more time. And he goes, Gene, if can you do me a favor and take care of Ruben? Take him running. He'll take care of your gas and your food. And you take him running in the morning to Griffith Park. Had to get up like at 5 in the morning, to be at the hotel by 6, and then we headed to Griffith Park. And so there I was in my little Volkswagen Bug, and I'd pick up Ruben and then the manager and the trainer, and we go out to Griffith Park. I remember it was all at 6 in the morning, man. It's all like foggy and hazy, but there we are running. So that's how I met Ruben, and he became a lifelong friend. In fact, Q, I don't know if you saw in my Facebook. We're Facebook friends, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, good. He was just here. I just had him out here a month ago, and we had him on a 10-day tour, and we took him to. He had meet and greet things where we'd sell gloves. Let me show you an example. In fact, that's Ruben there behind me.
Yeah, I noticed the picture. That's a really nice picture.
Yeah. So he was selling gloves like this,
Mm-hmm.
and also 8x10 pictures. And we would announce it in Facebook, that Ruben's going to be at such and such place from 7 to 10, whatever. So all the fans, man, would come out and see Ruben, and Ruben was really happy. He took a nice bonus there, back to Mexico City with him, so he was very, very happy. We had him at like I say, different restaurants, different bars, and and it was good for the location too, because they'd bring people there. We had like 100 people every time, hardcore boxing fans. They take pictures of Ruben. So
That's really cool.
so this was just like actually it was January, 2 months ago, and it was a great time that we had, and I was happy to help Ruben. Who unfortunately, like the story of many boxers, they don't have money at the very end. So this I was done. Everything, all proceeds went to Ruben. So he was very happy about that.
That's good. And Ruben, he was the type of fighter, and I learned this in the book as well. He worked hard, but he played hard.
Yeah, he did.
And we see a lot of fighters today who appear to get distracted from their craft, by the real world. And
Right.
One that comes to mind for me is Adrian Broner.
I was thinking about him too.
Oh, such a talented fighter. Yet he seems focused on everything outside of boxing.
Everything.
But Ruben had
all the wrong things.
Yes. Ruben had 105 fights.
Yes.
He won 89 of them, and he knocked out 79 people. Was his extraordinary
yes.
ratio. But how good could he have been had he focused strictly on boxing?
I don't think he would have lost, Quincy. He would, let me tell you a story. The International Boxing Hall of Fame is in Canastota, New York, upstate there,
Hmm.
and they were opened. Their first year was 1990 with Muhammad Ali, Carmen Basilio, Sugar Ray Robinson. All those were the first year inductees, and Ruben Olivares got inducted in 1991, and he flew in from Mexico City, stayed here in LA for a few days, and from here we took off to New York. And I went with him because he doesn't speak English. So, I've been his lifelong friend since the 70s. So we went in 1991, and he was so great with the people, and the staff loved him that we went every year for the next 30 years. And they're having it this year, but we're not going to go because it's, they're combining 3 years in one because of the COVID thing that happened, and
Right.
so they're just a little jammed up. They're going to induct Mayweather, James Toney, Sugar Shane Mosley, and Marquez, great fighters like that. So, but we were very thankful that we went out to Canastota for all those years, and we met a lot of great people out there, a lot of great champions, and it's just I was just happy. I'm happy to continue the legacy of Ruben Olivares.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, your trips to the Hall of Fame is where you met the young brothers, Brian and Kevin, who introduced me to
Yes,
you.
yes. How's
Yes.
Brian doing?
And they're both doing great. They're doing
Good,
great. And
good.
so, but yes, this year is going to be a big induction ceremony, and
Yes,
I've been
yes.
fortunate to go twice.
Oh, good.
I've been there twice.
We were there at the same time. I'm sure we
I'm
were.
sure we crossed paths and didn't realize it at the time. But I
Yeah,
went in 2011 and 2015, I believe.
we were there
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Because in 2011, I got to hang out with Bert Sugar, and that was an experience. I
Oh my
really
God.
enjoyed that. He was a childhood idol of mine.
Yes, yes. And I love his books. Watch. Let me just show you real quick. Got my little library over here, and this is such a great
That's
book.
nice.
Ruben's in here, and Carlos Zarate, Salvador Sanchez. Some great fighters are in there. But
Yeah, you
Bert,
had to
yeah,
love
Bert,
Bert Sugar.
I do too, man. And I miss him so much. I
Yeah.
miss him a lot. I was shocked when he went. I go, hey, this guy's walking around, and with his cigar and having a
Yeah.
few drinks, and then next thing I know, he's gone.
Yeah. It was sad. Very sad. But I'm so glad I got a chance to meet him.
Yeah, you're
Kevin and Brian introduced me. So I was
very
very happy
blessed.
about that.
Did you tell Brian that I put his name in? I thanked him also in the book.
And
Did you
yes, he
get a chance?
does. Yes, he's aware.
Yeah, it's right there, Brian Young.
Hmm. So,
Good, good.
and so like your books, have focused on Latino fighters in the past.
Hmm.
And like one of them that comes to mind to me was Alexis Arguelle
Yes,
from Nicaragua. And
yes,
he actually made a name for himself against Ruben.
yes, yes, yes.
And I remember him when I was a kid in the early 80s. I was born in 71. So I really started paying attention in the late 70s. And he had fights against Aaron Pryor, Boom Boom Mancini, I believe. And
Yes,
people in the
yes.
United States were starting to see fighters who were not just from Mexico, but from other Latin American countries as well. But your book is focused on West Coast Latino boxing. So why was
Yeah.
it important to you to regionalize this particular book?
You know, there's a picture right there with that's when Alexis won his first title against Ruben right there. See Ruben on the floor.
Hmm.
Ruben, it was in the 12th round. Ruben was winning the fight. He was ahead on points, but he got careless there in the let's see what round that was. That was the 13th round. He got careless. If it was a 12-round fight, Ruben wins the fight on points.
Mm.
But that was in the 13th. He got a little careless. He got hit with an uppercut, and down he went. And that was Alexis Arguelle's first title right there.
Yeah.
Uh, to answer your question, uh, Alexis fought here a lot, and he beat Bobby Chacon at the Forum. I was at that fight. Uh, he fought another guy, I think a Filipino guy named Ray Tam at the Forum. I was there. And then, of course, he fought Ruben. So he fought many times here in the West Coast. And I also met Alexis for many years at the Canastota, New York. And, he's one of my favorites, along with Roberto Duran from Panama. And Alexis was from Nicaragua.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Forum. I grew up in an era where it was the Great Western Forum. They call it, I
Yes.
think, the crypto.com forum or arena or something today. But back then it was known for, well, in my day in the 80s, it was known for Showtime basketball with the LA
Yes.
Lakers. But wasn't it
Yes.
boxing that really put that venue on the map?
Yeah. Yes. Well, it was built by Jack Kent Cooke in 1968. That's when it opened up, and the lake. First, it was Kareem, and then Magic came in, and
Hmm.
all those great teams of the Lakers. But you're right. Other than the Lakers, I think the Lakers was the top attraction. But the Forum was also a very popular attraction for boxing, and it gave the competition to the Olympic Auditorium. The Olympic Auditorium is in downtown, and the Forum, the Fabulous Forum, as it was called back then, was located in Inglewood, which is just a few miles down the 110 freeway. Have you ever been to LA, Q?
No.
Oh my God, there's so much history over here too, and so it was like the competition to the Olympic Auditorium, except the Forum was brand new, held 18,000 people, and the Olympic was built in 1926 and held 10,000 people. So, all the shining stars came out to the Forum to see. The Forum was more for the Mexican nationals, like Ruben Olivares Nápoles, who was Cuban but relocated to Mexico City because he had to get out of Cuba because they banned professional boxing. Fidel Castro, but it was those two venues were the top venues here in LA for many years. And
And you
now,
said it was Jack Kent Cooke?
yes, who built the Forum?
Now, he had a stadium named after him in Washington, D.C. I didn't realize he had a West Coast presence.
No, I didn't know that.
And yeah, FedEx Field, where the Washington Commanders play now in the NFL, that was once Jack Kent Cooke Stadium.
I think you know what? I think he came from the East Coast. I think you're right. I think he had a piece of the Washington Redskins. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's the same guy.
Yeah. And wow. Okay. And so let's talk about, you mentioned Cuba, and we've talked about Panama and Mexico, and so the war between the countries, so to speak, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Argentina, all of these countries have sent proud fighters to the U.S. to develop rivalries between the
Yes.
nations. When
Yes.
do you think all of that became mainstream?
When did it's I think it started like in the 70s. That was when it when Salvador Sanchez fought Wilfredo Gomez. Did you ever see that fight?
Mm-mm.
It was a Don King production, and it was at Caesar's Palace. If you be sure to watch it, it's Salvador Sanchez against Wilfredo Gomez. Sanchez
Okay.
was WBC featherweight champion, and Wilfredo Gomez was the WBC super bantamweight champion. So he moved up in weight to fight the great Salvador Sanchez. Let me just show you a quick picture. There's Sanchez and Gomez,
Okay.
and Sanchez in the blue trunks, and it was one of the greatest fights. I was not there in person, but it was one of the greatest fights I've ever watched on the tube, and that was one of the biggest fights of the Mexico-Puerto Rico rivalry, along with Carlos Palomino fighting Wilfredo Benitez. Another great fight in
Yes.
that rivalry. Carlos Zarate fought Wilfredo Gomez and lost to him. So there was the it's a very international rivalry that transpired in starting. I think they've been fighting since the 40s, but I think, like you said, it transformed itself in the 70s.
Okay.
Became
And
big business.
Mexican fighters have always been considered tough fighters. And in
Yes.
your book, so many fighters that you featured got knocked down a lot or got knocked out in a lot of their fights.
Hmm.
But they had no fear, and that's why so many of them are viewed as warriors and so respected to this day.
Yes. Yes.
Today's fighters sometimes feel afraid to be challenged. Some will even just grab and clutch the entire
Yes.
fight
That's
and take
yeah,
a loss rather than risk being knocked down or knocked out.
yes. Yes.
So, what do you think changed in the mindset of the boxers today that makes so many of them
Yes.
afraid of
You,
being having
you
a
know what?
loss, so to speak?
Q? I hate to say it, but they're saving themselves for another day. They got paid, so they're going to save themselves to fight again. Not like the warriors that we had in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s even. Uh, when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Tommy Hearns won at Caesar's Palace. I was there. I sold my baseball card collection so I could go. I had no money, but my friends were going, so I sold I regret it to this day. Kick myself every day for doing that. I had all the great Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Sandy Koufax of the '60s that are worth thousands of dollars now. But oh well. Uh, but these fighters nowadays, what ruined them too was the the money. It turned into a full on business. Back then, in those days, sure, money was important, but
Hmm.
it was also fighting for your neighborhood, for your country, for your family, friends. And now it's all business, business, business. You know, uh, Look at Canelo. He just signed a 2-fight deal with Matchroom Boxing. Eddie Hearn, 85 million to fight Bivol, and then he's fighting Bivol Cinco de Mayo, and then he's fighting a 40-year-old Triple G in September. It it ain't the best versus the best anymore. It's a shame. It's really a shame. I wish Canelo would fight. The Charlo brothers,
Yeah.
Benitez, not Benitez, Benavides.
Hmm.
Benavides, another great fighter from Arizona, tough guy. But it's all a business. Uh, they're signing for these crazy numbers, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're not there to knock each other out anymore. They're just there to dance a little bit, hardcore sparring maybe, but
Yeah.
not like the old days, man.
Yeah. And I missed that because, I mean, like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, I mean, that fight should have been made. It took, good Lord, how long did it take Kell Brook to fight Amir Khan? I
Right?
mean,
Yeah.
just certain fights you want to see as a fan, and by the
Yes.
time it happens, the guys are my age, you
Right.
know.
Right. Like when Mayweather fought Pacquiao. I mean,
Yes,
it was like 2 years, 3 years later than when it should have been made.
yes, but back in the 80s, just for example, Hagler, Leonard, Duran, um, who else am I forgetting? Hearns, all those guys were
Yes.
ready to mix it up
Yes.
with anybody.
Yes, and they all fought each other. And
Yes,
Throwing Benitez in there too.
yes,
They all fought each other. The war that with Hagler and Hearns, one of the greatest fights ever, was a 3-rounder, I think.
hmm,
One of the greatest fights I've ever saw on TV, and but it's just doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, I think the last great fight I saw was the Gypsy King Tyson Fury knocking out Deontay Wilder. I mean
yeah,
that was what, a couple of years ago, I think. And
hmm,
that got me excited, but
yes,
it's far and few in between, Quincy.
definitely, definitely. And you mentioned Benitez. I think one of my favorite photos in your book was of Carlos Palomino and Wilfred
Yes,
Benitez on the cover of
yes,
the April '79 Ring magazine.
yes,
And
yes.
I was about
Yeah.
8 years old when Benitez fought Sugar Ray Leonard, and I think my dad and I may have listened to that on the radio. I can't really
Yes.
recall, but he's Benitez was always a good fighter to me. And
Yes.
so, but the posters and the magazine covers in your book that you have are amazing. I mean, how difficult was it to collect and compile all of
Well,
those into the book?
well, I've been collecting it since I was a kid, since I was 10 years old, when I was cutting out clippings or buying magazines at the newsstand, the Ring magazine back then. I still have I was taking posters off the telephone poles that are worth a lot of money these days. Posters, that is.
Yeah,
And uh, uh, it was just a lifelong collection. And also, I bought a lot of great stuff in Canastota all these years. At the collector show. Did you go to that? Did the
yes,
guys see that?
yes, I did go there once.
Yeah, yeah. The collectors I bought. Oh God, I'd buy a lot of stuff there. And
Yeah,
and also, with my friendships with all the fighters, they would let me scan their pictures and all that stuff. So it's a lifelong collection that I have.
yeah. But I think when I went to that collector show, I was so starstruck with the people that I saw. I
Yeah,
don't even think that I bought anything. I met Clarissa Shields,
yeah.
Riddick Bowe. I mean, so it was kind of cool just seeing the people walking around there.
Yes, yes,
And so,
yes.
who are some of your favorite fighters today?
Well, today, oh my God, you really have to think about that one. I mean, I follow the sport, still, but I don't, nowadays, if you want to watch boxing, you got to pay for it, and I just don't.
Yeah,
Some of these fights are not worth it in my book, like tonight, there's a fight over there in San Diego, and it's you got to pay for it. I think it's on the Zone.
hmm hmm
I you know I I'll watch I'll it's just I'll watch the highlights, and
yeah,
tonight or tomorrow, and to me, it's just not worth it. Every fight is not a pay-per-view. That's what I tell everybody. you
yes.
know
Like Keith Thurman having a pay-per-view fight is ridiculous to me. The fight he had
yeah,
last,
yes. Who
and
did he fight? Who did he
I don't
fight?
even recall.
No name.
Yeah, but I just miss the days of ABC's Wide World of Sports with Howard Cosell
Oh
broadcasting
my
a
God,
Larry Holmes fight. Yeah,
that's the best, man. That
on a
was the
Saturday
best.
afternoon, and or the USA Tuesday night fights. It's somebody like a James Thunder, someone I knew was going
Yes,
to be a tough fight, and so I
yes.
definitely miss those days. I understand
I
completely.
do
Um,
too. I do too.
because of the pay-per-view and everything, can boxing survive going forward? I mean, after
That's
guys
tough.
like me and you pass on, who's going to watch boxing?
You know, uh, they're gonna have to restructure everything. I think, and I don't think, they'll be able to pay these. Like Canelo signed for two fights, he's getting 80. I think 85, 65 million or something like that. I don't. I
Mhm.
think they're gonna have to just restructure this whole thing, uh, and for boxing to survive, because I mean, people are not going to pay for it for just like you say, uh, Keith Thurman against this kind of a no name guy, and I got to pay for this, and it's just
Right.
which which should when HBO pulled out that was a big warning sign to me, a big red flag that that how the suits were going to view boxing. The HBO pulled out. That was a big warning sign, and now we see why they pulled out. They
Yeah.
weren't going to pay all these crazy contracts uh, for just average boxing.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and get ready to wrap things up. He
Thank you,
is
Q.
Gene Aguilera. His name is synonymous to boxing. The book is called Lost Stories
There it
of
is.
West Coast Latino Boxing.
Yes, thank you, Q. Q, and
There we
I got
go.
to tell you, I'm very impressed by your knowledge of boxing, because I know you're just involved. I know boxing is one of your passions, but you're also involved in so many other different fields. Uh, but I'm just very impressed by your questions and your knowledge of boxing. And my hat's off to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. And let people know where they can find your book and connect with you online.
Yes. Okay. It's my. Let me give everybody my email address. You think should I write it down and just show it on the screen, or how should I do this?
You can
You tell
tell me, and I'll present it on the screen.
Oh, okay. My full name right there at sbcglobal.net.
Okay.
Or they can contact me through Facebook or Instagram and messenger me there, and we can do. There you go. Thank you, Q. You're top of the line, man. And you can. There you go, man. See, Instagram, and you can contact me through Facebook. And send me a messenger, and we can do it by mail.
All right. And now this is your third book, right? Any plans for a fourth one?
Yeah, yes. I'm working on it right now. I think, let's see, where are we at? I should be out by the end of 2023.
Nice. Okay. Well, I definitely look forward to that one.
Yeah. Hopefully we can talk again soon.
Definitely. And do you have any upcoming appearances or book signings?
Yeah, we're having let me see, where's my phone here? I'll be at this. Let me show you this event that they just put together here.
Okay.
Let me show you. Here we go. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me move it over here. Yeah, I'll be there. This is a really
Nuns, or I tell you, wow, it's nice.
Yeah, it's a Danny Lopez, Israel Vasquez. That's coming up. I'll be there with a table selling my books.
Okay. I can't wait to see the pictures for that.
What's that again, Q?
I said I can't wait to see your pictures.
Oh yeah. You know me. I'll be posting. Here's another one we just did. Let me show you. This is another we did with Danny Lopez. That was about a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So you can see that we're busy. Let me see what else I can show you. Wasn't prepared, but oh yeah, here we go. I'll be at this Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. This is a documentary on the Olympic Auditorium. And I will be at the one on Tuesday, March the 8th. I'll be guest speaking there, and I'll have a table with my books right there.
Okay.
And let me show you. One more. I got to show you a picture of this. We did an interview with Channel 2 News, CBS. Here we go. This is at the Olympic Auditorium, which is now a Korean church. The guy in the middle was from Channel 2 Sports.
Okay.
And there I am. The other person there is the producer director of the Olympic Auditorium documentary that's showing on Tuesday.
Okay.
And so we've been staying busy with different little things, Q.
That is great. I don't know how you find the time to do it all.
Ah, man.
And then, well, Gene, I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on the Talk to Q radio show once again. And again, I appreciate being included in the book. I mean, like I said, it means a lot.
I consider you a friend, and like you know when you go into a fight, you have your corner, man, and I consider you there in my corner.
All right. Well, thank you. Definitely
appreciate it.
And one more thing, I saw that the Boxing Hall of Fame announcer, the classy one, Jimmy Lennon Jr., did the foreword for your book. I mean, that's amazing. How did that come about?
Yes, that came through the producer of this 18th and Grand documentary on the Olympic. He interviewed Jimmy Lennon Jr., and I consider Jimmy Lennon Jr. the link from the old Olympic Auditorium to boxing today. He's the link. He's still announcing for Showtime and different events. And so, I said, I want to do something different. I want for my third book, I says, I want to get somebody to write a forward. So who else better than a link from the past, Jimmy Lennon Jr., who's still, viable and active today.
Absolutely.
So Steve set it up. I spoke to Jimmy and asked him. I invited him to write the forward, and he agreed. And I'm so thankful to Jimmy Lennon Jr., who's continued the tradition from his father, who was a great ring announcer at the old Olympic Auditorium. And it was just an honor to have Jimmy Lennon Jr. write the forward to my book.
That is great. That is great. Well, all right. I appreciate you, Jane. If I can get you to hold on for just a moment, I'll go ahead and wrap things up. And that's going to do it, people, for this Q11 edition of the Talk to Q radio show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, support my guests by visiting the links to their sites. I'll make sure that's placed in the show notes. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.